You already know what it is. Come on. Yeah. Woo.
The hottest hits.
Hot 106.
All right, it is Mike D back here with another hot spotlight for the month of February. This time we got my man Adversity. My man's been hitting me up. We were DMing a little bit, been checking him out for a while. So I'm glad to finally get you on. Adversity, man. Thank you for your time today, bro.
Yes, sir. A long time coming. I appreciate you having me, man.
Now, we appreciate you. So first and foremost, I definitely enjoy the music. You've been hitting me up, sending stuff to my email, over this past year or so. And I can always appreciate a persistent and consistent person in any field. Doesn't matter if it's music, this industry, another industry. It's good to be persistent, and I think that's a great part of your story. Is the hunger behind that. So first, I want to thank you for that.
For sure. Yeah, man. I don't know. Like with the consistency, man, it's like whether I hear back or not, I'm that type of guy. I've been continuously making music and continuously growing. So I just try and push it out to, as many people like yourself that, are involved in the music industry and whose opinions, carry a little weight in terms of like the industry. And I'm always looking to get feedback and insight from people like yourself. So
For sure, man. I think that's a really good way to look at it. But first and foremost, let's start with the name Adversity. I like that, because I think it's something that a lot of people relate to, right? We all have to overcome adversity at some point in our life, pretty much our whole life. So how did you come up with the name and why does it stick with you?
Yeah, so what drew me to that name, I was kind of at a point where I was like, okay, there was a beginning part of my career where I went by a different alias. It was OG Brandon Johnson, which it was a high school thing and people kind of just came up with that. It actually, I forgot who made the song, but there was a song called OG Bobby Johnson. And it was like a whole thing. So it was like a jokey thing. And then it was around the time where I started making music, which was like junior year, high school, senior year. And I was at the point where I was like, okay, I actually, really want to take this serious and do it. And again, what drew me to Adversity was like, it was something that I consistently seen throughout my life. And what it was is that I had to overcome that. And every single time I did, it felt like it was, a level up in the sense of like I grew and I kind of developed in that. So I wanted something that could really blend my personal life into music. And that was the like consistent factor in both, whether it was personal or professionally. There's obstacles you always have to overcome. And I kind of just took that. And also a lot of things I was talking about early in my career involved adversity without me even thinking about it. So I was like, okay, that is the perfect name. It's easy off the tongue. So it just kind of, took on a life of its own.
Yeah, and I think that's super relatable too, making that your persona is kind of owning that and being like, yeah, man, I'm going to always have to overcome adversity. And it's right in my name. So I think that's really dope. But you said you started rapping, taking it real serious, like junior year, senior year of high school. Now walk me through that. Was it something that like started with freestyling with friends, maybe writing some things down first, or you more of a melody guy? Like how did that all kind of come together at the beginning?
Right. So I was really always into music. Both of my parents enjoyed listening to music and I was always around it. But I never really considered creating any for myself, which was interesting. But around that time, like I said, junior, senior year, I took actually was it a poetry class or like a literacy class, something like that. And again, I always wrote things down. Like I was a note taker, kind of things like that. Even almost journaling as well. Like any thoughts I had specifically that I wanted to remember, I was a writer. In that class, it really kind of allowed me to see myself in the light of a poet and not necessarily a rapper at that point. But I was like, okay, similes and stuff like that. I said, I can do this, and I'm putting these creative words together. And I remember I made a poem, and everyone really resonated with it. They were like, "This is the most incredible thing ever." They were gassing it up, and I was like, I didn't even think about it. It was just something I wrote for like the assignment. And then that kind of gave me that beginning phase of confidence where I was like, okay, people might resonate to the things that I've been thinking about forever. And from there, it really just turned into me looking on YouTube, getting different beats. And then I got myself a little cheap mic that I would record myself on just to hear myself talk. And yeah, it kind of just snowballed from there. I always had a passion for like writing and like giving people my perspective and letting them take what they will from that. Not necessarily to say it's right or wrong, but giving you my perspective, my story, and then kind of letting people interpret it for what they will.
That's really cool. You know, the beauty of kind of where what I do for a living, and I've talked to, you know, up and coming artists like yourself with the hot spotlight. I've talked to established artists, you know, that
Mhm.
have been in the game for a long time that are, you know, have a lot of success. And it always seems like I'll get a different beginning story, you know, whether they
Mhm.
were inspired by their parents, whether, and, you know, yours is dope because it came from a creative writing process, which we
Right.
know Tupac Shakur was, you know, he was into the arts and into writing poetry, and that kind of led
Mhm.
into his path to writing rap music and becoming an artist. So I think that's really dope. So
Mhm.
like the creative writing process, is that still your favorite part about making music? Or would you say that as you've developed as an artist, you've become more into kind of hearing things and hearing your voice?
It definitely that's a great question, by the way. I gotta say, I don't think anyone's actually asked me that before.
Appreciate that.
But it definitely the writing process is my favorite by far because it's like and the way I look at it is kind of like sculpting the entire thing. Everything revolves around that. The way you market the song, everything is based on what you say in the song. So I take that part of it very seriously. And yeah, basically like I enjoyed that part of it, but I also like recording as well. Recording is fun because it's like, again, like you said, I'll hear certain things, and I've really trained my ear to know and pick up on, certain things that I sound good on, or like certain aspects of instrumentals that I'll resonate with. But I would say overall, to pick one thing, definitely the writing process, because I feel like I have the most control over that part.
And you're obviously somebody who's very in tune with, you know, their inner feelings, their emotions, just the name itself, adversity is
Hmm.
understanding that when you're in the creative process, like when you're getting ready to write a song, um, how long does it take for that to kind of snowball? Like, are you like, you know, I know Eminem will write down on like a napkin and then that'll turn into something like, are you sitting down with the sole purpose to write a song, or are you writing down lines and then kind of piecing them together?
So when I first started, it was very like, okay, I'm gonna sit, write this. I want to talk about this topic. And as I created more and where I'm at now, it kind of changes. Sometimes I'll even be in the car and just think of something. I'll record a quick voice memo just to catch it and then
Mm,
build off of that. But it really usually comes down to what I want to say. I'll have a concept 9 times out of 10 that I want to talk about before the beat is even made, because I'm very, like I said, specific with what I'm saying and what I'm talking about. I'm not one to get to the mic and just kind of, there's always times where you want to just freestyle and have fun with it.
mm.
But when I'm really in my bag, I really want to know what I'm, talking about, what I want to portray. And yeah, that would definitely be my answer for that.
Yeah, that's dope. I like that a lot. And again, it's just it to me. This is the fun part, is getting to know artists, you know,
Hmm.
that I enjoy, because you get to hear how these things come together. But right now, I want to talk about a track you've been promoting on social media. I want to talk about Sugar Pill. So this fun track, man, really dope. Tell us
Yeah.
kind of the creative process behind that.
Man, that song is honestly one of my favorite in my catalog, not just because it's new. And the song, honestly, fun fact, it's been done for a long time. It's been done since like almost before COVID. It was like 2019.
Damn.
And we've been, like tweaking it and revising it since then. But it's very different from the rest of my catalog, which kind of, makes me gravitate towards it more. You're 9 times out of 10, you're going to hear me really, intricate flows, spitting fast,
Right.
slow, whatever, and like the bars. And this one was more of like I took inspiration from a few different experiences in my real life, and I wanted
Mhm.
to really uh, kind of like display it in a fun, different way, like you were saying. And yeah, man, it was a fun record. Jenny is an incredible artist. She went to the Berkeley School of Music, which is where we got connected. Honestly, another fun fact about the song, we've never even met face to face, which is insane. We've done a
Damn.
lot of things like that, right? We've done a lot of things like this where it's Zoom calls, FaceTimes, just doing, all the back end stuff. But a friend of hers, who was a friend of mine, basically just connected us. She was like, "Hey, this kid's a dope artist. He's from Connecticut. We went to high school together." She was like, "You should get in touch with him." We reached out, and I really enjoyed what she was doing on her end too. She has a great catalog of music as well. And I told her, I said, when I get a beat and a concept that I hear you on, I'm gonna send it to you first things first. And she was like, all right. And from that point, maybe a year or two went by, and I got the beat for Sugar Pill, and I was like, okay, I said, this is the one. So I wrote like 2 verses just to have something solidified, and again, created that concept and built the story around it. And she was like, okay, I could definitely work with this. And she came up with the whole sugar pill placebo effect thing and laid down the vocals. And then I put on the last verse just to kind of like tie everything together. But it was a beautiful process. Like I said, we never even met in person, but she really gravitated towards the concept, and she felt that she could present something that, again, tied everything together. And I think she did a great job at that.
And it shows how great your chemistry was, that you had the idea of working together before you even heard the beat. And then even
Yeah.
without being in the same room, we're able to produce something that, that good, which is great. And the collaboration process, because nowadays, like, you hear more often than not, artists are collaborating without actually even being in the same room. Do you like, I mean, it's obvious you can create something really well by doing that, but do you prefer to be in the same room with somebody, or is it just kind of like, this is a song, we vibe similar, it doesn't really matter?
Yeah, for sure. Off the bat, if I can pick, I'm definitely going to be in the studio with someone making that, making the beat, even if I can, the whole process all together. I think that brings a different energy to it when everyone's kind of like bouncing ideas off each other, you know what I mean? Everyone's feeling the same things, and you're able to really like talk things through in the process, and everyone's kind of on the same page. Like I have a song "What You Talking About" that I dropped like late last year with what's 100 Shot Brazy, and we were in the same studio. We made the entire song in a night, and it was insane energy. Like the producer had the bass line, only the bass line was going, and we were like, whoa, this is something special here. And we literally just bounced off of each other, and we wrote the entire song in a night. It took maybe like 3-4 hours, and that's one of my favorite ones too. We have a music video on YouTube for it, which is incredible. But yeah, definitely I'd like to be in the same room and get that creative energy all flowing.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. And I kind of compare it to doing a morning show. We were home doing radio for a year and a half, and it's like, you're trying to get chemistry that it's tough. Sometimes it can be tough, through a screen, or through
Oh
a
yeah.
technology. So that's obviously always the go-to choice. Speaking of chemistry, speaking of energy, let's talk about performing. I always, I love this part of the conversation with artists too. It's because I feel like the passion's always the same. It's like people love to be in front of a crowd and perform.
Oh
Would
yeah.
you say you're that type of artist as well?
100%, 100%. I'm someone that like feeds off of the energy of the crowd. I've done shows where there's 10, 20 people in there, and I've done shows with hundreds of people. And it's like I try to pride myself on presenting the same type of energy and same, like same aura, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like developing my sound and figuring out what resonates really well with people in the crowd. And just like crowd control and stuff like that, and breath control, even down to the point of like making sure my cardio is on point, just so I'm not. I've seen artists that are super talented, but they'll run out of breath like super quick in their performance, and it'll throw the entire thing off. And honestly, I'm gonna use the Super Bowl of Rihanna's performance. Everyone was talking about the whole lip syncing thing, whatever. That
Mhm.
I don't care about anything, any of that. But the point was, she put on a great performance. She had the catalog to do it, and she knew what she needed to do to make sure that it was a presentable, enjoyable performance. Um, and that's something I definitely pride myself on. I want to make sure everyone that sees me live remembers who I am and remembers, damn near everything I'm saying. So that's definitely a fun part of the game as well.
Yeah, you bring up a good point with the breath control because,
Hmm.
especially today's music with the energy, right? A lot of newer artists, they just go on stage, they want to scream and mosh pit. And
Hmm.
more than half the time, I feel like you don't even hear the artist. It's kind of either just the
Yeah.
crowd or just a backtrack. So that, I grew up listening to and going to see Hove and, all the greats and perform. And it always blew my mind how he would be on stage and do a 2-hour set, and he sounded
Be
exactly like he did
fine
on the track.
straight through. Exactly, exactly, exactly. I just recently saw Nas, Wu-Tang Clan, and Busta Rhymes at Xfinity Theater. And Busta Rhymes was he impressed me the most just because, like you said, to that same point, he sounds almost better live
Yeah.
than he does on the record, which I thought was incredible. I took a lot of notes during that show. It was great.
Yeah, and I think you and I probably grew up listening to similar artists, and it's of a different time where you know, it's just different. And it's not to say one era is better than the other. It's just kind of,
Yeah,
that's just the way it is. You know, we're always going to have that. But that sounds like a dope show to
it was a
check out.
great show.
A lot of legends. So that's cool. And as far as going forward, 2023, we're still here at the beginning of the year. You know, what are some things that you're working on? What are some projects that you're kind of putting together right now?
So you're gonna expect a lot of singles from me. I'm gonna be putting out, try and stay as consistent as possible and just put out as many different singles. Like I said, Sugar Pill is something that's way different from everything in my catalog, which I enjoy doing because I like showing off my versatility. I like letting people know that this is what I do. I can give you the bars, I can give you this, but how many different ways can I display that? And it's a funny time in my career where people are kind of like, they know I can rap, they know I can put together a good song, but they're like, okay, what's next?
Mm.
What's new? What haven't we heard from him? And that's kind of where I'm embracing it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna make sure that they hear all the things that they're used to and they love hearing from me. But I'm gonna just try and show them in many different ways. And I'm not sure if it's gonna drop this year, but I'm gonna give you the exclusive. We are working on an album.
Let's go.
And
Okay.
that the album is going to be extremely special. Is going to be like the first full length project from the point where I'm like, okay, I can really, what I mean,
Hmm.
do this. I put out a full length in 2018 called Up Next, but that was really like the beginning phase of my career. That was like before college, or no, it was in college, but like first, second year, and I was still kind of getting my feet wet. But now, again, it's to the point where everyone's like, okay, this dude is really like a hit maker. Everything he touches is getting crazy. So now we're kind of just, again, encapsulating that same mentality where we're like, we want to display a wide range of things I can do, and put it in a cohesive project. And there's no rush on it. You know what I mean? That's why I say it may or may not drop this year, just because from my standpoint, I know people usually don't want to hear like a full length project from an upcoming artist. It's, you want to develop your fan base a little more. And that's kind of where I'm at, which, leads to why I'm putting out so many different kinds of singles
Hmm.
leading up to it. Cause I want to just resonate with as many people as possible before I put out a whole project and start, put my focus towards that. But a lot of music is coming, and I'm excited. It's going to be a very productive year.
And I think that's a really good way to look at it too, is that, you know, it's not so much about the upcoming artist thing. It's more about like, you putting out the singles and feeling out who your audience is, you know,
Bingo.
and then that way you're able to kind of put together a cohesive project that
Hmm.
you're happy with, that you're proud of. And nobody should ever rush in, you know, whether you're beginning your career or towards the end, you should never really rush anything. Cause I feel like nowadays
100%.
we get too much rushed music, too much rushed, you
Yeah,
know, and a lot of it is just, you just throw it out.
exactly. People hear for a day, 2 days, and then they're like, okay, what's next? It's honestly crazy, but that's what I mean. I'm taking my time with this album, and I wanted to really be special, and we plan on making sure that happens.
Love to hear it, man. I'm definitely looking forward to it. And I know
Yes, sir.
people listening to this and who will be checking this out will be as well. But we got to tell them, if this is their first time hearing of Adversity, give them a quick little like, what can they expect from you, from your music, and also where they can find it.
So what you can expect from me, I'm a lyricist at heart, that decides to really adapt to trap beats. I want it to be digestible. I want it to be fun. I don't want it to feel like too old school. I do my best to blend the two eras, you know what I mean? Where it's like I'll give you the bars that the older
Mhm.
generation can enjoy and really resonate with where I'm talking, and give the new generation something to mess with too, where it's like the beats are bouncy and they give you kind of energy. Um, but yeah. And where you can find my music, I'm on all streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, YouTube, all that stuff. We have music videos on my YouTube. Social medias, I'm at Adversity627 on everything. So I like to keep it consistent so that you guys can find me. And yeah, Rhode Island, I'm sure a lot of you guys, this is your first time hearing from me. And hopefully I get to do a show or two out there so I can, meet some people out there. And also, I'm gonna give you guys an exclusive. I got a song dropping on February 28th. That's gonna be a brand new one. It's called Life's Amazing, featuring Ian Matthew, another great talented artist out of here. And that one's gonna be very special. So between now and then, you're gonna hear a lot more Sugar Pill, giving you different snippets and stuff. But Life's Amazing coming end of the month.
Awesome, man. Perfect way to end the month as well. You know, a nice new
Mhm.
track. Another local artist. We're really happy to hear that. Adversity, man. Thank you so much for your time today, bro. We look forward to hearing more from you, and we'll definitely have you back on the show sometime in the future.
Yes, sir. Salute. Shout out Rhode Island, Hot 106.3. I appreciate y'all. Mike D, you the man. I appreciate y'all always.